Welcome to story time, where the night whispers secrets, and sleep embraces you like a forgotten lullaby. Tonight, we unravel the midnight invitation, a tale of four friends, a celebration, and a surprise waiting in the shadows. Chapter 1: The Invitation. The rain tapped lightly against the arched windows of Blackwood Manor, a grand estate standing alone in the countryside. The invitation had been simple. Join me for a night of celebration. Midnight awaits. Eleanor. Charlotte, Vincent, Isabel, and Henry had not seen Eleanor in years. She had vanished from their lives without warning, leaving only unanswered messages and an eerie silence. Yet, here they were, arriving one by one at the mansion, drawn by curiosity, guilt, and something else, a lingering sense of unease. Charlotte pulled her coat closer as she stepped through the towering entrance, shaking off the damp chill of the night. Inside, the grand hall stretched endlessly, its walls adorned with oil paintings of forgotten ancestors. A crystal chandelier hung above, its light dim and flickering. "You're the first," said Vincent from the corner of the room, swirling a glass of dark red wine. He looked older, wearier, his sharp features softened by time. Charlotte nodded, her eyes scanning the room. The air smelled of aged wood, of roses left too long in water. "Have you seen Eleanor?" Vincent shook his head. "Not yet. But the table's set." She turned, and there it was, a single round table in the center of the room, draped in velvet, set for 5. The 5th seat remained empty. One by one, Isabel and Henry arrived, their footsteps echoing in the vast hall. Isabel, wrapped in a deep blue dress, took a cigarette from her clutch, but Henry snatched it away before she could light it. "Not in here," he murmured. "Still as dull as ever, Henry," she teased, but her smile didn't reach her eyes. The clock ticked toward midnight. And then, a hush. The air turned colder. The candles flickered. A door creaked open, slow and deliberate. Eleanor entered. Chapter 2: The Return. She stood at the threshold, dressed in a flowing black gown, her presence as ethereal as a ghost's. Her hair, once golden and full of life, fell in loose waves around her shoulders. Her smile was soft, yet it held something none of them could place. Was it sadness? Was it triumph? "I'm so glad you came," she whispered. No one spoke. The weight of her absence loomed between them. "I thought we'd celebrate," she continued, gliding toward the table. "Like old times." She raised a glass. The others hesitated before following. The moment the liquid touched their lips, a strange sensation washed over them, drowsiness, heaviness, a pull into the unknown. The room blurred. Shadows stretched. Somewhere, a clock chimed 12. And then, darkness. Chapter 3: The Past Comes Knocking. When Charlotte opened her eyes, the hall had changed. The chandeliers flickered with an eerie glow, casting long, distorted shadows. The air was thick, heavy with the scent of damp earth and something metallic. Vincent stirred beside her, his glass overturned, red wine spilling onto the tablecloth like blood. "Where is Eleanor?" Isabel's voice wavered, her hands gripping the edge of the table. Henry pushed his chair back, the screech of wood against marble breaking the silence. Something's wrong. A laugh echoed from the far end of the room, soft, chilling, unmistakable. Eleanor stood there, watching. "Do you remember that night?" she asked. None of them answered. But they did. It had been years ago, the night of Eleanor's last party. A storm had raged outside, much like tonight. There had been laughter, music, whispered secrets between sips of champagne. But something had happened. Something they had buried in the past. Eleanor tilted her head, waiting. "No? Let me remind you." She stepped forward, her fingers trailing across the tablecloth. The candles flickered again, their flames dancing unnaturally. The shadows on the walls twisted, taking shape, four figures, seated around a table, laughing, drinking, and then, a scream. A girl's scream. Charlotte's breath caught in her throat. "Stop. You left me," Eleanor whispered. Chapter 4: The Truth Revealed. The memory crashed over them like a wave, drowning them in the past. It had been a mistake, they told themselves. The storm had knocked out the lights, and in the confusion, Eleanor had disappeared. They had searched, briefly. But when dawn arrived, and the guilt settled in, they convinced themselves she had left on her own. No police. No questions. Just silence. Now, Eleanor stood before them, unchanged. No older, no different. "Impossible," Vincent muttered. Eleanor smiled. "Is it?" She lifted her glass once more. "Drink," she urged. "One last toast." Henry's hands trembled. "What do you want?" Eleanor leaned in, her breath cold against his ear. "For you to remember." A gust of wind howled through the hall. The walls trembled. The chandelier swayed. And then, one by one, they remembered. The truth. The guilt. The betrayal. Isabel dropped her glass. "We didn't mean to leave you behind." "But you did," Eleanor said simply. A final chime echoed through the hall. Midnight had passed. And the guests had overstayed their welcome. Chapter 5: The Final Goodbye. The candles blew out. The hall darkened. The weight of their sins pressed upon them, suffocating, inescapable. And then, nothing. The night carried its secrets, and the truth was lost between the ticking of the clock and the whispers of the past. When the sun rose, Blackwood Manor stood silent once more. The table was empty. The wine glasses were untouched. And Eleanor? Eleanor was never there. As sleep takes you, let the mystery linger in your dreams. This was the Midnight Invitation, and you were part of it. Subscribe to Storytime for more tales where dreams and reality fade into one.
Thanks for your time. Please subscribe. Don't forget to press the bell icon for more.